Hey everybody, back out here in the garden. These are what you'll see in a minute. These are the tomato plants, the 2 rows we had here. Got them all covered up for frost. We're expecting the next 2 nights. So this is a mesh frost blanket. And I don't know if we'll be able to, let's see if I can show you. Everybody's tucked in under there. So we've got Celebrities on the left and Mountain Fresh on the right. And they're looking great. They've grown quite a bit. And you stick around, I'll show you how we did that. Then to come down here, you can see our corn is doing fairly good. These potatoes have really jumped up. You can see big, beautiful, healthy plants. They're looking great so far. Radishes. We even have some little bulbs starting. I saw, let's see. There you go. Got some bulbs starting down there. So we'll be able to eat some of those in the next couple days. We also have some baby carrots. You see them right here. There's a bunch. They didn't come up too well just yet, but it can take up to 3 weeks for them to really be doing anything. Beets, I think I saw some beets down here. Let's see. A lot of grass I gotta come and get out. Yeah, here's a beet. There's some beets right there. There's real reddish looking plants. Onions are doing great. Looking awesome. We have some blooming strawberries down here on the end. I think I counted 8 plants that were blooming, which 8 out of 100 isn't great. But like I said before, I'm looking for plants, not strawberries. But here's a strawberry bloom if you've never seen one before. And that will turn into a strawberry here in a couple days. And if you'll remember, I snipped all the blooms off of these plants when I planted them. So they would have already bloomed had I not done that. It probably would already have strawberries on them. But I wanted the plants to be healthier, so I didn't allow them to do that. And you'll see the wildflowers are getting going. The volunteer sunflower here is really taking off. One down here too. In my experience, these volunteer sunflowers tend to be the biggest ones you get. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I'm not going to mess with them. It's kind of funny that they came up in the flower row. So that works perfectly. You'll see a lot of grass I got to get out. But they'll continue growing and getting themselves together. We finally had a little bit of rain this morning. Only 1/100th of an inch, which is basically nothing. So we're irrigating everything. I will be disconnecting and turning off the irrigation for the next couple nights as we have this really cold weather, because I don't want to freeze any pipes or get my plants too cold. So I am turning that off. I didn't get any seeds in the ground or any seeds in dirt in my house this week. Just too much going on. But we'll have a lot of planting coming up this next week. I think these 2 right here are going to be my Silver Queen corn. And then we've got green beans and butter beans and black-eyed peas and peppers, cucumbers, all sorts of things that are going to go in over here once I get it laid off how I want it to. I will show you some update on the orchard and the fruit plants and everything. So just give me a second to get over there where that is. So if you'll look over here at the raspberry plants, we do have some little baby raspberries just starting there on these plants. And they're pretty loaded with blooms. So it's going to be very exciting to see if we can beat the birds and the wildlife and actually get some. And our grapevines here came back out. I'll be getting these staked up this week as well. Finally getting some time to garden properly. I don't know that this fig tree is going to come back out. We'll give it some time and see what happens. We had an incredibly long cold winter this year, and I just don't know that this new plant is going to make it. Coming over here to the fruit trees, all the blooms that we had, all the starts of apples that we had on these trees have all fallen off. They survived the frost. They did fine through all that cold weather, but it's been so dry that the trees just aborted all those little baby fruit, and we just won't have any this year. But if you look over here at the blueberries, they actually have little baby blueberries on them, and they are perfectly happy. Loads of little baby blueberries. They liked getting fertilized and being pruned real well. So they're doing great. You'll even see how these are a greener blueberry than, say, these right here. Different variety, and that brown on the end is just the flower left over where it hasn't completely fallen off of it. These little ones that we planted last year are doing really great. This one on the right has really taken off, and then we've got the straggler down here on the end, also full of blueberries. So if nothing else, we should be getting blueberries this year. We'll check in with the cherry tree. It's having a hard time adjusting to its new environment, partially because it was dug up by some creature, and then partially just because it's been so dry. Trying to get enough water to it, but I'll have to look and see what sort of deficiencies going on too to make those leaves be so yellow. But we'll get it turned around, we'll get it happy. Alright, so we're going to see what we can do about staking these tomatoes. This is usually something I'm not very good at, so I'm trying to do much better this year, make it more manageable. So I'm going to start with T-posts, and those are these big, heavy metal posts that have this T on the end. So if you can see, it actually makes a T. This formation of makes a T. You have other things that are like U-channel and different types, but this is specifically when people talk about T-posts, this is what they're talking about. They're heavy, usually made out of steel, and they'll last you forever and ever. They'll cost you $5, $6, $7 a piece depending on how tall they are. So they do get pretty costly, but you'll have them for probably longer than you're alive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 of these in each of these rows. So I have these 2 rows of tomatoes, and if you look, they're doing absolutely wonderfully. We did lose a couple, but that's not bad for not having any rain. So I'm going to take 4 of these, get them in the ground. I'll show you how I'll do that here in a second. And then in between them, every 4 plants, I'm going to put these little white step-in posts. They're plastic. They're rigid, but they're kind of flimsy, so I don't expect them to last as long. But they're a cheaper option, an easier option, a quicker option. So that's what we're going with this year. And then I'm going to take baling twine and string between everything, and I'll explain that when we get to it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually lay that right there for the time being, and I'm going to let this lean right there. I'm going to grab my post hole driver and show you how I'm going to do this. So this is a post hole driver. This end right here is what goes on top of your post, and it weighs 15, 16 pounds, so it's pretty hefty. But the idea is basically that you put it on top of the post and you can pretty much just let go and let it drive it itself. So I'll show you how that works. Might be kind of loud. Do I want to be, I guess I want to be on this side of the irrigation. this way. All right, so take it up, put it on top. And then this is, if you're doing a bunch of these, you're gonna want earplugs because it's really loud, but we're just gonna do it today. And make sure you have these little tabs, whichever direction you want them to be holding something up. So if you're using fencing, or in this case, baling twine, I wanna make sure that when I'm looping, so I'm gonna loop the baling twine around like this. It's gonna come around this corner and then go back that way. And I want it to sit on these so that it doesn't just fall down to the ground. So I want these facing outwards because that's how I'm gonna loop my string. So make sure you have it how you want it. And then we're just gonna So putting a T-post in the ground, you want to make sure this little, I don't know exactly what it's, but the little flag, I'm going to call it, that's on the outside of the post, you want to make sure it's mostly buried in the ground. And when you do that, it's nice and secure. All right, put our little, well, the ground is so hard I can't put the little tag in. All right, so next thing, these are much easier. You won't have to have your post hole driver for these. So I'm gonna do this every 4 plants. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is gonna grow in the ground right in this hole. And I want my strings, yeah, that'll work. So you can just step it in. Since I have the hole there, I'm going to use the hole and then backfill it like so. Try and get it nice and straight if I can. All right. That'll do. So I'm going to do the same thing all the way down, and then we'll be back to do some twine. So this is what I'm using for frost protection. It's 6 foot wide by 50 foot long, and I'm gonna, well, for 2 of the rows I cut it in half, so they're 3 foot wide and 50 foot long. But this last section I'm just gonna leave it 6 foot wide and see how it goes. But it says for fall and winter. We're spraying almost summer now, but we have some really cold nights coming, so I'm gonna cover up these tomatoes. Tomatoes don't want under 50 degrees. They start showing some stress. So we're going to be in the 40s tonight and the 30s tomorrow night. So we're going to get these covered up. So make sure, if you're turning off your irrigation, make sure you also disconnect it from, so I turned it off. Make sure you also turn off your spigot and then disconnect it from, I don't have any, okay. Disconnect it from your water hose, from your spigot, because what will happen if you don't, so this is a frost-free spigot, which means when I turn the water off, the water from here drains out and there's no water left in here. But if I leave this hose attached, water stays in this hose and doesn't drain all the way, and this can then freeze and crack and cause damage. So make sure you disconnect it all the way when it's going to be cold enough that it could freeze. Finishing up for the day. Everything's tucked in for the next couple nights while we get this real cold weather. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you got something out of my tomato project. If you know of a better way or have some advice, I'd love to hear it. I will say when we came through the second time and did one big greenhouse rather than two little ones on the end there, that was significantly easier. But I don't really know what's the best way to do that. But that's what's going to work for now. Hopefully after these couple nights of cold we won't have any more. But there has been some talk of a cold snap coming in May. That's way off, so you never know. But we'll see what happens. We are 1 month ahead of last year's planting. So we'll see if that is a good thing or if that's a bad thing. I imagine for some things it'll be good. If you'll remember last year, we had some trouble with some tomato blight, specifically some center rot. And I think that happened because it got too hot. So I'm hoping planting a month earlier this year, we'll be able to get the potatoes out of the ground before they're cooking in the ground. So we'll see if that pays off. The corn was just a gamble, so we'll see. Tomatoes are always a gamble, but I did, in buying the Mountain Fresh variety, they're meant to withstand cooler and wetter weather better. We haven't had the wet problem, but the cooler is something we're going to fight the next week or so. So we'll see how they do with that. But everything's looking really fairly good. So thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening, for commenting and liking and sharing these videos and subscribing if you haven't. If you've got gardening fever and you can't garden where you are, go back and watch last year's series and see if you can find some tips and tricks to help you when you can get in your garden. I hope you are doing well and having a wonderful start to your week, wherever it is that you are. Y'all take care.